Well, it's Jackie Robinson Day. And of course, if you don't know who Jackie Robinson is, he was the first African American to play Major League Baseball. And since 1997, his number, 42, was the first uniform ever to be retired across the entire sport of baseball. That said, players who were still wearing number 42 at the time could choose to continue wearing it until they retired. Thus, some teams have had players wear number 42 more recently than others, and some have never handed out that uniform to anyone. Here's a look at the last player to wear number 42 for each Major League Baseball team. If you guys do enjoy this video, make sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new here. We just hit 300 subscribers. Let's see if we can hit 500 by the end of the year, and also comment down below if you guys learned anything from this. With that said, let's get into the video. Alright, so the last player on the Toronto Blue Jays to wear 42 was Xavier Hernandez, who only played 1 year with the Blue Jays in 1989. Hernandez was a right-handed relief pitcher, made his debut with the Blue Jays in 1989, like I just mentioned, and appeared in 7 games, covering 22 2/3 innings that season before the Astros selected him in the Rule 5 draft. Toronto had drafted Hernandez in the 4th round in '86, and he developed as a starter, but came out of the bullpen for the majority of his 10-year Major League career with the Blue Jays, Astros, Yankees, Reds, and Texas Rangers. Back on June 4th, 1989, Hernandez's debut with the Blue Jays was a heavy lift for a reliever, as he threw 93 pitches over 6 2/3 innings after starter Alex Sanchez recorded just a single out. He was followed by some Blue Jays greats that day, including Tom Hankey, David Wells, Dwan Ward, who eventually earned the win as Toronto topped the Boston Red Sox 13-11. For the Baltimore Orioles, the last person to wear 42 was Lenny Webster, who caught for the Orioles from 1997 to 1999. A journeyman backup catcher, Webster wore 4 uniform numbers for 3 teams before arriving in Baltimore on a free agent contract in December of 1996, being assigned number 42. He only wore the number for a short time before MLB retired it, which made Webster eligible to keep wearing it. Webster then appeared in 222 games over parts of the next 3 seasons, hitting .265 with 17 home runs, mainly as Chris Hoile's backup. Webster's last game with the club came on May 12, 1999 in Cleveland, also marking his last time as an Oriole would wear number 42. He finished his career with stints with the Boston Red Sox and Montreal Expos, wearing different numbers at each stop. The last player on the Boston Red Sox to wear 42 was Mo Vaughn. Now, Mo Vaughn, he was also the last player for the Angels and Mets to wear 42. So, spoiler alert, there's going to be more than one player for every team. So we're going to keep Mo Vaughn just a little bit brief. The man known as the hit dog throughout his 8 years with the Red Sox wore number 42 in honor of Jackie Robinson, which was apparently his hero. And by wearing the number again for the Mets from 2002 to 2003, Mo Vaughn is actually the last black player in the MLB to have 42 as his uniform number. The AL Most MVP in 1995, Vaughn belted 230 homers and had a 936 OPS. Moving on to the New York Yankees, the last player to wear number 42 was Mariano Rivera, who, of course, was the closer for the Yankees from 1995 to 2013. Credit former Yankee clubhouse attendant Nick Pryor for issuing number 42 to Rivera. The all-time saves leader in baseball's first unanimous Hall of Famer wore the digits in each of the 1,115 regular season games he pitched, plus 96 more in the postseason. Along the way, Rivera grew to learn and understand the significance of number 42, beginning with baseball's decision to unilaterally retire it in April 1997. By virtue of his longevity and playing for a New York team, Rivera developed and enjoyed a lasting bond with Robinson's family. I was blessed that as the years went by, people wearing that number kept retiring, and I kept going to the point that I was the last one standing, Rivera said. At that point, it was more demanding the amount of responsibility I had wearing that number. That was real pressure. I wanted to make Mr. Jackie Robinson proud of the legacy that he left us, me being the last number 42, doing it in a great arena as New York. I was thankful for the legacy he left for us to continue pushing it forward, passing it down to the next generation. The last person to wear number 42 on the Cleveland Indians was Michael Jackson. And no, not the singer, Michael Jackson. This Michael Jackson that you're looking at on your screen. Michael Jackson was the last person to wear 42 for two different teams, the Cleveland Indians and the Minnesota Twins, which I guess will kind of put this together for both Indians and Twins. He sported the number on the back of his uniform toward the end of Cleveland's magical 1990s teams from 1997 to 1999, when he played a key role as a late innings reliever. The club's fans rarely needed to be reminded of how the 97 season came to an end for the Indians, but Jackson was a huge part in helping the club get all the way to Game 7 of the World Series. In 1997 playoffs, of course, the Indians took down the Yankees and Orioles. They get to the World Series, losing to the Marlins in that Game 7. But in 13 postseason appearances that year, Michael Jackson permitted just one run in 13 1/3 innings, having 16 strikeouts with a 0.68 ERA. That's pretty gross. He came back in 98, where the Indians would beat the Red Sox in the division series and losing to the Yankees in the ALCS to lead. But anyway, he led Cleveland's pen with a 1.55 ERA and a team-high 64 frames while racking up 40 saves. In 1999, the Indians made the playoffs again. This time, the Red Sox got the revenge on the Indians in the division series. He still accumulated 39 saves. But Jackson wasn't quite as dominant, owning a 4.06 ERA in 72 appearances. He was 34 years old at the time, and he became a free agent at the end of the season. And he continued to pitch until he was 39 years old, and his career ended with the Chicago White Sox in 2004. Now let's talk about his time with the Minnesota Twins, which was just one season in 2002. Jackson alternated between wearing number 38 and 42 for much of his 17-year career, and he became the final player to wear number 42 for the Twins in 2002, like I just mentioned, when he served as a late inning reliever for an AL Central championship team, once again, that also featured a very good bullpen in Eddie Guardado, Tony Fiore, I think I'm saying that right, and LaTroy Hawkins and J.C. Romero. That's a name you don't hear anymore. Michael Jackson posted a 3.27 ERA in 58 appearances, despite striking out only 29 batters in 55 innings in his 37-year-old season. He made one appearance in the 2002 AL Division Series against the Moneyball Oakland A's before pitching 3 times. All in losing efforts in the Twins Championship Series loss to the Angels. Number 42 was worn for the longest time as a Twin by Dick Sudge. Okay, I'm not going to lie. That's actually I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but the way I pronounced it, that sounded pretty wrong. Who wore it from 1985 to 1997 while serving as a pitching coach under Ray Miller and Tom Kelly. Oh my God. The way I pronounced that name was just so embarrassing. But yeah, Michael Jackson, he's the last person to wear number 42 on 2 teams, the Indians and the Twins. Spoiler alert, this is not going to be the first kind of time we're going to talk about a player that wore 42 on more than one team. Moving on to the Kansas City Royals, the last person to wear number 42 on the Royals was Tom Goodwin. Tom Goodwin wore number 42 for 3 years in Kansas City between 1995 to 1997 before he was traded halfway through 1997, and MLB retired the number. Goodwin was selected off waivers from the Dodgers in 1994 and played in just 2 games that year with the Royals, but he broke out in 95 and finished 9th in the AL Rookie of the Year award voting, with the 288 average and then the slash lines of 346 and 358. He had 16 doubles as well. Goodwin declined slightly in the next 2 years and was traded at halfway through 97 to the Rangers for third baseman Dean Palmer, who made the 98 All-Star Game and won a Silver Slugger Award in Kansas City. Moving on to the Chicago White Sox, the last person to wear 42 on that team was Scott Rufcorn. The White Sox had high hopes for the right-hander when they selected him in the 25th overall in the 1991 MLB draft, but Rufcorn didn't live up to those expectations despite having great success in the minor leagues. Rufcorn actually never won a big league game. In fact, he finished 0-8 in between 1993 to 1997. Yeah, he did not win a major league game ever, which is a little bit disappointing, and had a 8.57 ERA over the parts of 5 seasons. The right-hander posted an 0-5 mark with the 9.68 ERA over 12 games. 5 of those games he ended up starting with the White Sox and had been out of baseball since 1999. Moving on to the Detroit Tigers, the last person to wear 42 for them was Jose Lima. He actually wore 32 in his first stint with the Tigers, being called up from the Toledo Mud Hens as a 21-year-old in 1994. Detroit traded him in a 9-year player deal on December 10th, 1996 to the Houston Astros, where he wore 42. When the Tigers reacquired Jose from the Astros for Dave Malicki on June 23rd, 2001, so halfway through 2001, Jose stuck with number 42. Excuse me, I can't talk today. The fly ball pitcher posted a 17-32 record with 6.04 ERA and 95 appearances for the Tigers, but his outgoing personality and mannerisms made him a fan favorite. He tossed 7 scoreless innings while allowing only 2 hits against the Royals to outduel Paul Bird on a fireworks night in a game that lasted just 1 hour and 41 minutes. Then stayed well after the game and to sign autographs for fans while they just waited for nightfall. Unfortunately, he passed away due to a heart attack on May 23rd of 2010 at just 37 years old. Just like the Michael Jackson segment, he was also the last person on the Astros to wear 42 from 1997 to 2001. He was just 24 years old when he was traded from the Tigers to the Astros, alongside catcher Brad Ausmus, who went on to become one of the worst managers in baseball, pitchers Trevor Miller and C.J. Nagowski, and slugger Darrell Ward on December 10th, 1996, in exchange for pitchers Doug Brocail and Todd Jones, who is one of my all-time favorite Tigers pitchers, outfielder Brian Hunter, and shortstop Orlando Miller, as well as cash. Jose had posted, again, a 6.24 ERA in 57 career games, 20 starts with the Tigers, and he certainly gave no indication of the success that lay ahead of him in Houston. He pitched in the bullpen with the Astros in 97 before putting up a pair of improbable seasons as a starter for Houston's playoff teams in 98 and 99. He went 16-8 with a 3.70 ERA in 98 and 21-10 with a 3.58 ERA while making the NL All-Star team in 1999. He finished 4th in NL Cy Young Award voting that season. Jose's success was short-lived, a fly ball pitcher, and didn't fare well when the Astros moved from the Cavernous Astrodome to Enron Field in 2000. He gave up 48 home runs that season and went 7-16 in 33 starts. Lima time was over. He was traded back to the Tigers in 2001 and bounced around thereafter. Again, Vaughn was the last player to wear 42 for the Angels. His entire career, he wore 42 from 1981 to 2003, including his 2-year stint with the Angels from 1999 to 2000. The Angels signed Vaughn to a 6-year, $80 million deal before the 99 season that was a disaster from the start, as he fell down on the steps in the dugout in his first game and severely injured his left ankle. Vaughn was traded to the Mets for Kevin Pierre before the 2002 season, and we'll get into Vaughn's stint with the Mets when we get into the National League East teams. Moving on to the Oakland A's, the last player to wear number 42 for them was a guy named Buddy Groom, who only in his 2-year stint with the A's in 1996 and 1997. Groom signed with the A's in 96 and immediately became a workhorse out of the bullpen. He appeared in a career-high 78 games in 1997 and posted a 5.15 ERA in 150 outings from 1996 to 97. He combined a 4.44 ERA. And if you're wondering how his career went, I'm looking it up on Baseball Reference. Buddy Groom, he played in the major leagues from 1992 until 2005. He was with the Tigers, Marlins, A's, Orioles, Yankees, and Diamondbacks in his 14-year career. And he retired at the age of 39. Moving on to Seattle, Butch Husky was the last person to wear number 42 for the Mariners in just 74 games. He actually split 1999 with the Mariners and the Boston Red Sox. But he came over to the Mariners in a trade from the New York Mets before, again, being shipped over to Boston ahead of the 99 trade deadline as a valuable late-season chip for the contending Red Sox in his short Seattle stint. Husky slashed a .290 average, 353 on base, and a .496 slugging with 15 homers, 49 RBIs, with 112 OPS plus. When he first broke into the majors with the Mets in 1983, Husky wore number 10 before switching to number 42 in 95 to pay tribute to Jackie Robinson. The Mariners had 11 other players wear Robinson's number over the years before it was universally retired in 1987, including star shortstop Omar Vizquel, who donned it when he first got called up in 89, simply because it was what was valuable at the time, or available at the time, and he switched to number 13 by his season's end. Butch Husky played in baseball from 1989 to 2001. He was in the major leagues from 93 to 2000. His last season in baseball, he retired at the age of 29. He was with the Mets, Mariners, Red Sox, Twins, and Rockies in his career. In his last season in baseball, he spent the entire 2001 season in AAA with the Rockies in Colorado Springs. And he actually didn't do very bad in his last season. He hit .323, had 19 homers, 87 RBIs. Surprised he didn't get called back, or he didn't get called up again. But looking at him, he really wasn't a bad player. Kind of wish he had more playing time, bud. But yeah, he was the last person on the Mariners to wear 42, and it was a very short amount of time. Moving on to the Texas Rangers, the last person to wear 42 for them was Mark Segoman. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but he only had a small amount of what's the word I'm looking for? Experience in the big leagues. He was the 13th round pick in 1993 and in the MLB draft, and he didn't debut for the Rangers until 1997. His first major league hit was an inside-the-park home run at Kauffman Stadium against the Royals. He would go on to play only just 21 games for the Rangers, batting .140 and had 4 RBIs and just that one home run. Mark, ironically, made his major league debut on April 15th, 1997, which was the same day MLB opted to retire Jackie Robinson's number, or league-wide. Thus, he was the last player to debut wearing number 42. Unfortunately, unlike Jackie Robinson, he didn't really have a very good career. After those 21 games, he spent a majority of 97 in AAA with the Rangers, and he ended up playing in AAA for the rest of his career up until 2001. He played for just 3 teams in 2001. He was with the Rangers, the Cardinals, and the Twins, and he's been out of baseball now since 2001. And yeah, like I said before, he didn't really have a very good career. Like I said before, the last person to wear 42 for the Mets was Mo Vaughn. As we move along to the National League, Vaughn has the distinction of being the last to wear number 42 for 3 different teams, like I said before, the Red Sox, the Angels, and the Mets. His Mets tenure was the least distinguished of the 3, as it didn't occur until his mid-30s. Still, Vaughn was productive throughout a 26-home run season in 2002, before tailing off in his final year as a Major League player. The Mets have a special link with number 42, given their proximity to the former site of Ebbets Field in Brooklyn, and their birth as a replacement for the Dodgers and Giants franchises in New York. The Jackie Robinson rotunda at Citi Field contains a large number 42 sculpture that greets fans as they file into the ballpark's main entrance, along with the inscriptions of famous Robinson quotations. Moving on to the Atlanta Braves, the last person to wear 42 for them was Armando Reynoza. Most Braves fans might remember Rick Mahler wearing number 42 during most of the 1980s, but few may remember that the club's last player to ever wear the number was Reynoza, who totaled 9 appearances for Atlanta and posted a 6.17 ERA over 6 outings and 5 starts in 91, and had a 4.70 ERA in 3 appearances. One of those appearances he started in 1992. And Reynoza last wore number 42 for the Braves on October 3rd, 1992, when he tossed a scoreless inning and notched his only career save in what became a rain-shortened 6-inning game. He was taken by the Rockies halfway through 92 in an expansion draft, and he ended up spending the next 10 seasons with the Rockies, Mets, and Arizona Diamondbacks. And this will not be the last time that we speak of him. Moving on to the Florida Marlins, the last player to wear 42 for them was a guy named Dennis Cook. Cook had played for a number of teams in his major league career. He was with the Giants, Phillies, Dodgers, Indians, White Sox, Indians again, Rangers, Marlins, Mets, Phillies again, and Angels in his 15-year career from 1988 to 2002. During his he was a free agent in during the 96 offseason, and he had already played for 6 teams, like I mentioned before, in 9 years, all while sporting 6 numbers. During his 2-year stint with the Rangers, preceding his 97 campaign in South Florida, he also donned number 42. The then 34-year-old left-hander served as closer Rob Nen's setup man, posting a 3.90 ERA and a WHIP at 1.48 in 59 regular season outings. Arguably more impressive might be that Cook went 5 for 9 with a homer and 2 RBIs, including an extra inning walk-off hit. During the Marlins World Series run, he allowed just 1 hit, walked 2, and struck out 10 in 9 scoreless innings across 7 postseason appearances. And looking at his reference page, he ended up getting 2 wins in the 97 postseason run with the Marlins. One of those games in the division series against the Giants, and in the World Series against the Indians. Like I said before, he's been out of baseball now since 2002. Spoiler alert, a lot of these players might be out of baseball by 2002. Moving on to the Expos, the last person to wear 42 for them was Kirk Reuter. Kirk Reuter wore number 42 for his entire 3-year-plus career with the Expos from 1993 to 1996. Selected by Montreal in the 18th round of the 91 draft, the left-hander went 8-0 and finished 7th in the NL Rookie of the Year award voting in 93. Overall, he made 59 starts and was 25-12 with the 4.03 ERA with the Expos. He was traded to the Giants around 1997. Reuter changed his uniform to number 45 in 97. Major League Baseball retired Robinson's legendary number 8 years before the franchise relocated to Washington. Finishing up the National League East, the last player to wear 42 for the Phillies was Toby Borland. Borland played parts of 9 seasons in the big leagues, including his first 3 years with the Phillies. He once told an amazing Larry Bowa story to the Philadelphia Inquirer when Borland got hit hard in a 1995 game at Veterans Stadium. Manager Jim Fregosi removed him from the game, and Borland jogged from the mound to the dugout under a torrent of boos. Bowa, who was Fregosi's third base coach, greeted him. Bowa got right in my face and yelled, "Let me tell you something. If you pitch bad in this place, don't run off the mound. You walk off the mound, and you walk slow. Give them a chance to boo you because you deserve it." Okay, very interesting story. Toby Borland, he pitched 10 years in the major leagues from 1994 to 2004, which was also the running time for America's favorite sitcom, Friends. I don't know why. Anyway, so he was with the Phillies, the Mets, Red Sox, Phillies, Angels, and Marlins in his career, and I believe he won a World Series with the Marlins. And no, he didn't. He didn't. He didn't. Never mind. I don't think he was on the World Series roster for the Marlins in 2003. But I suggest that I think he got a ring. I hope he got a ring. Moving to the NL Central, starting off with the Brewers, the last person to wear 42 for them was Scott Carl, who was with the Brewers from 1995 to 1999 and pitched in the major leagues until 2000 with the Rockies and Angels. You might be surprised to hear that Carl had the same ERA plus in a Brewers uniform, 103, as another notable left-hander in franchise history, Mike Caldwell. Carl never did have a chance to author the postseason moments that Caldwell did, but the former did make at least 32 starts in all 4 of his full seasons with the team. Drafted by the Brewers in the 6th round of the MLB draft in 1992 out of the University of Hawaii, Carl was packaged with all-star infielder Jeff Carrillo in a 3-team trade in 1999 that netted the Brewers Henry Blanco and Jamie Wright from the Colorado Rockies and Jimmy Haynes from the Oakland A's. Scott Carl, he was out of baseball again by 2001. Spoiler alert, like I mentioned before, since these are mainly 90s players, a lot of these guys are going to be out of baseball by 2001. Moving on to the St. Louis Cardinals, the last person to wear 42 for them was Jose Olivia. No, it wasn't Bruce Sutter. I'm more surprised than you are, but it was Jose Olivia, and just like Dennis Cook, I wasn't really able to find a picture of him wearing a Cardinals uniform, mainly because I don't think he was with the Cardinals for very long. In fact, he came to the Cardinals halfway through 1995 in a trade from the Atlanta Braves and had little room to play. So they made the tough decision to trade the third baseman to the Cardinals in exchange for Anton French. Atlanta manager Bobby Cox at the time said that Olivia had more than big league power. He got major league power. According to the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, it was power the Cardinals wanted, but never truly got it in the majors, as Olivia went on to bat just 122 over 22 games to close the 95 season. He spent the next year in the minor leagues blasting 31 homers in the AAA Louisville before moving on from St. Louis and playing a year in China. Jose Olivia passed away in 97 in a car accident at the age of 26. And also, the 1995 Cardinals were really, really bad. So, no wonder why the Cardinals needed power. Moving on to the north side, the last player to wear 42 for the Cubs was Dave Smith, who only played 2 years for the Cubs in 1991 and 1992. Following the 1992 season, no Cubs players wore Robinson's number 42. That made the late Dave Smith the last player in franchise history to don the historic digits. Smith concluded a 13-year big league career mainly with the Astros, and then also had a 2-year stint with the Northsiders. The right-hander had a 4.94 ERA in 46 games for Chicago. Prior to Smith, the most notable in number 42 in Cubs history was Hall of Famer Bruce Suter, like I said before, who mainly was with the Cubs, Cardinals, and Braves in his career, who was a 4-time All-Star and somehow won a Cy Young Award in 1979 while with the Cubs. The player who broke the color barrier for the Cubs was none other than Mr. Cub himself, shortstop Ernie Banks, who debuted in 1953, spending 19 seasons with Chicago. Banks, number 14, is also retired by the franchise. In 1962, the legendary Buck O'Neil became the first black coach in the major leagues with the Cubs. How ironic is that? Moving on to the Pittsburgh Pirates, the last person to wear 42 for them was Jason Schmidt. Schmidt, who had a 14-year major league career, bounced between 4 uniform numbers, but his first with the Pirates was number 42. Schmidt donned number 42 after he was traded to Pittsburgh as the player to be named later in the 1996 Denny Neagle trade. When Robinson's number was retired, the right-hander opted to wear number 22. Schmidt went on to have a great late career resurgence in San Francisco, where he was runner-up for the NL Cy Young Award in 2003 behind a rare relief winner in Eric Gagne. Before Schmidt's career was over, he got to play for Robinson's Dodgers in Los Angeles, signing as a free agent in 2006, wearing number 29. Schmidt ended up playing for the Pirates, Giants, and Dodgers in his career he was actually started out with the Braves, then went to the Pirates, Giants, Dodgers from 1995 to 2009. And he was a 3-time All-Star and actually started in the 2003 All-Star game. So Jason Schmidt had a very good career, indeed. Moving on to the Cincinnati Reds, the last player to wear 42, Roger Salkild. I think that's how I'm saying that right. The number 42 was a revolving door for a cavalcade of Reds players with 7 different occupants over the final decade before being retired to honor Robinson. The final regular Reds user was Salkild, who spent 1 season in the big leagues with Cincinnati and parts of 3 overall in the majors. Salkild, the 3rd overall pick by the Mariners in the 1989 draft, and grandson of former Major League catcher Bill Salkild, was traded from Seattle to Cincinnati in 1995 for pitcher Tim Belcher. Roger returned to the big leagues in 1996 in a swingman role and went 8-5 with a 5.20 ERA in 29 games, including 19 starts and 116 innings. And like most people on this list, in this video, he spent 4 more seasons in the pitching in the minor leagues, and so yeah, he was one of those guys that split time between the major leagues and the minor leagues. And like most people on this list, he was out of baseball by 2000. His last season pitching was in Double-A for the Cleveland Indians in 2000. The Akron Arrows. They're now the Akron Rubber Ducks now, but yep, he's the last person on the Reds to wear number 42. All right, moving on to the National League West. We got 4 teams left. The Diamondbacks do not have number 42, but the Dodgers do, and their last player to wear 42 was actually a guy named Ray Lamb. Believe it or not, Jackie Robinson wasn't the last Dodger to wear 42, as the franchise has tried to move past its Brooklyn history and embrace a new beginning in Los Angeles. The Dodgers issued the number to a man named Ray Lamb. That rhymes. A right-handed reliever, yes, another pitcher on this list, or in this video, who played his college ball at USC. Lamb wore the number from August 1st until the end of that season and had success posting a 1.80 ERA in 10 appearances. The following year, the Dodgers realized their mistake in Ray Lamb, switched to number 34. A year after that, Lamb was traded to the Indians. Robinson's number was later retired by the club in 1972. And as for Ray Lamb, he was out of the major leagues by 1973. His last season with the Indians was at the age of 28. So, not a bad career overall, but it was, like a lot of these people on this list, it was very short. Just like the Expos, the last person wore 42 on the Giants, Kirk Reuter, who only wore it in 1996 and 1997. Regarded as one of the most popular Giants of the San Francisco era, Reuter became known as Woody due to his striking resemblance to the animated cowboy from the Pixar hit Toy Story. He enjoyed a decade-long run with the Giants, going 105 to even 80 with a 4.32 ERA and over 281 appearances. He was the winningest left-hander in San Francisco history, that is, until Madison Bumgarner burst onto the scene. Kirk Reuter famously pitched a game for the Giants on the day his first daughter was born, and he holds the distinction of starting the first regular season game at Oracle Park, or AT&T Park, whatever you want to call it, in 2000. So, very interesting career. Kirk Reuter, yeah. Moving on to the San Diego Padres, the last player to wear 42 for them, Pedro Martinez. No, not the Pedro Martinez that was from the Red Sox. This Pedro Martinez here that you're looking at here. He was the left-handed Pedro Martinez, is how he's often specified. And while he didn't have a Hall of Fame career and doesn't qualify as one of the best pitchers who ever lived, the left-handed Pedro Martinez was a useful reliever across 2 seasons in San Diego. He posted a 2.73 ERA in over 80 appearances for the Padres after his 1993 breakthrough. Martinez is perhaps best known as an important piece in one of the most consequential trades in the franchise history. He went to Houston along with Derek Bell and 3 others in the 11-player blockbuster that landed third baseman Ken Caminiti and outfielder Steve Finley in San Diego. Pedro Martinez, or the left-handed Pedro Martinez, his pro ball career lasted from 1987 up until when he was 18 years old, up until 2002. He played in the major leagues, or his last season in the major leagues was in 1997, and then he pitched a couple more seasons, or 1998 with the Tigers in AAA, and then he played his last 4 years from 1999 to 2002 in the Mexican League. And he's been out of baseball since 2002. And the last player on today's video is from the Colorado Rockies, Armando Reynoza. Once again, he was the last player on the Braves to wear 42. He was also the last person on the Rockies to wear 42. His big break came in 1993 when he joined the expansion Rockies after it turned out being the last Braves player to wear 42, like I just said. Reynoza donned the number with Colorado and had his best season in the team's first year. He went 12-11 with a 4.00 ERA, over 189 innings and 30 starts, in what was quickly discovered to be a hitter-friendly environment. Reynoza continued as a gritty starter for the Rockies until 1996. The year before number 42 was taken out of the circulation. In 1987, he joined the New York Mets. On the day of the ceremony, he pitched the day of the ceremony at Chase Stadium on April 15th.